Hi, thank you for joining me. Today I just want to share a mixture that I use for my garden or my potted plants. This is, I think they call it spamagum. It's peat moss. I think this is the correct orientation. That's what they call it. But the general name is peat moss. And it's a funky mixture of plant matter. Looks like mulch that has been made really finely grounded. These, as you can see, are little twigs and sticks from the trees. So where they would normally stop this at mulch, they just keep grinding it until it gets almost powdery. So I'm outside, and it's best that you work with it outside. It comes in its large 3 cubic size cube, and I usually just loosen it up a bit with a spade and then just scoop it out and put it in here. This is as you can see, this was a milk container. Just keep the cap on, make sure it's a screw on tight. Just an extra little tool that you can use, and cut the bottom out. It works great for scooping this and for scooping water. So this container is a mixing bin for cement. You're going to mix small amounts of cement together. And this is usually I'll use like a mixture of soil, this is garden soil. They just happen to have it on sale. I'm not particularly fond of Miracle-Gro products, but that seems to be about all you can find on the market right now. And I'm just going to mix this entire bag up with what I have already did of the peat moss. Alright, as you can see, I just cut the bag open, piled it high, and now I'm going to mix it. But this is one reason why I generally only buy topsoil, and I don't care for the potting mix in the garden soil. This thing said it's for flowers and vegetables, so you can use it for potting either your flowers or in your garden. But I guess I should have looked on the back, because this has so much of the peat moss in it. See if I can get out of my own way and you may be able to see. This here looks like wet peat moss. As you can see, the twigs and some of the branches, which is the same as this. So this really has, I'm breaking it up to see, it may not even be a 50-50 mixture, because this is so light and airy. It doesn't have that much soil in it. I hate purchasing products like this, because this is a brand name. I believe, since it says feeds up to 3 months, they've added plant food in here. So what I would normally do, these were about $2.50. It's 1 cubic foot. That's the size of this container. Oh, but by me purchasing this peat moss, I could have doubled my mixture by just having plain topsoil. I'm not sure what the potting soil looks like or the topsoil looks like now. This is mostly peat moss. It's just damp. And the way that you can tell, besides just looking at it, I can look at it and tell the difference, is you know what dirt is like in your hand. This looks like it's moist dirt. However, after I get through doing this, I should have more residue on my hand. And the residue on my hand would be the dirt. So it may not even be 50% topsoil and 50% peat moss. It may be 75-25 mixture, because there's very little dirt residue on my hand. So I'm going to have to mix some extra dirt in with this. I see these large twigs. This is what you would find in the peat moss mixture. These are really large, really large twigs that you would not normally find. Not this size. You don't see any of those that size. Even if I came over here into the container of peat moss, they're not that big. So I consider that product to be a very big ripoff. So what I'm going to do now is just add some water right in this area and see if it'll mix. It doesn't mix so well at first, but once it does mix, you can see it's the same, almost the same thing. What the peat moss does is it keeps your soil. It'll help retain the moisture. It's hard to, if you can see that, it's hard for the peat moss to absorb the water. But once it does, it tends to hold on to it. So if you mix that with your potting mixture, or even just in the garden, because that's what I did when I prepped my garden. I got a one of these 3 cubic feet containers of peat moss, or packages of peat moss, and then I just mixed it. It's almost the same. This is the peat moss by itself. That's dry. But this is the peat moss by itself. And then this is the garden soil mixture. So with all of these large size sticks is what I call them. They're not twigs in my mind. But with all these large size, it just looks like rubbish. I would not even want to plant my vegetables in this. And unfortunately, I purchased 4 bags. So I'm going to mix this. It is really good when you start any planting, whether it's for your garden or ornamentals. I mix this peat moss in with the soil. Once I mix it in, you can use some of the granulated plant food. There's also plant food that you can get from a feed store, but I mix it in and then add it to the soil directly into the ground. So if you have a raised garden, you can do the same thing. As you can see, it's mostly peat moss. So the peat moss is drying it out. If this had been topsoil, it would have mixed much better. I don't know. The potting soil may have just as many twigs and sticks in it as this garden soil does. This is a big root. That shouldn't even be in here. So I will probably end up mixing another bag. I usually mix 50-50 with the topsoil and the peat moss, but I don't know. I may have to just take these back. I'm not satisfied with them at all. I may just have to take these back and get topsoil, because this is mostly peat moss. And that's not exactly what I wanted, but it's good for building up your soil if you're in an area where the soil is really sandy and doesn't have much body to it, doesn't retain moisture, it dries up really quickly. Then you want to mix some of this in with it. You want to mix the peat moss in with it. You can just mix it straight into the ground.